So again, you go File, New in Photoshop. Come over here to Film and Video. And then what you want is 1920 by 1080. And that is the ultimate size for YouTube. They do have feature film size in here, so you could make a feature film if you wanted to. But for YouTube, this is the perfect size, and it's good quality. So it's really the standard size for YouTube. And by default, you want to make it horizontal. But again, if you wanted to make an Instagram video, you would do it vertically. But you really should try to get the ultimate size that Instagram prefers. Because a lot of times, if you're too big, like what happened to Alani's photograph, then it won't take it. So you want to always get the specs on something. But I know for YouTube, 1920 by 1080 is the best. And just leave everything by default and you're in good shape. So now the reason why these guides are here is because if you have any important information, you don't want to lose it. But YouTube's pretty good. It pretty much shows everything. But if you went to broadcast things, that's really what it's about. And that soon will be going away. So this is just guidelines to help you to know important information. You want to keep it within these guidelines. So just to show you, let me call up the layers here. Let's get the layers up so you can see that. And so when you're in Photoshop, you often get these things like this lock layer. Just double click it and it unlocks it. And so often when you open a file that you've downloaded from Google, it will have that locked situation. And now let's just see. Now I do have the clipping in, so I'm just going to do paste in place. And now you see it's asking me, what do I want? But I should make a layer. I did not make a layer. You see how if I did a paste, it could paste it in here. Make a layer, which is down here, just like it is in Illustrator. And again, go back to paste. And I can make it a layer. And I'm going to show you the differences between the two. And it's going to say vector mask. Let's just say rasterize. And then continue. And there it is. Now, so let's zoom into this. So you see the resolution on that. And you see how it makes a folder, right? So now I'm going to zoom out. Fit on screen. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to do Control V again. This time I'm going to say Smart Object and say OK. And that's because of the other things that are there. And you see how it's not in that folder, which is better. So let me delete that again. And let's go here. Now, pixels or shape layer, let's do pixels. And that's coming in, and double click it. And so that is how you're bringing in your files from Illustrator that you can do a copy and paste. And this time, let's open up something that I have here that we can give an AI file and enlarge it. Right? Because that's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to enlarge it and avoiding the photographs as we have. So let's see what this is. So you can actually enlarge, but I'm going to show you the difference. Yeah, we had this last week. So you can bring this up. First of all, let's see what size this is, right? Let's select the size. I'll select this. And it's 13 by 19 inches. So that's big. That should be nice and big. And so I'm going to grab this now. I'll grab the whole thing. Control C, right? Or Command C, wherever you are. And again, Control V. Let's see, let's do, okay. There we go. See how much bigger it is, right? So you can scale your Illustrator files in Illustrator, but double click and look how, how nice and clean that edge is on the orange, right? And there it is. And now if you look at the resolution, this is how you look at when you open up a file in Photoshop. Now here's the difference between a bitmap and a vector. The proof is, to me, when I first saw this, it was like, oh yeah, definitely want a vector program. So you see, because I scaled the photograph large in Illustrator, it pixelated it. Vectors, you can scale it as big as Times Square, and it will never, ever get pixelated. The only time it gets pixelated is if you brought in a bitmap or PSD. So now, just looking at this document, if you open up a file in Photoshop and you don't know what it is, you come up here to Image, Image Canvas, and you say, wow, here is my resolution. And here are my pixels. Now, inches, 23 by 19. So I did make it bigger. But I can always go down on this, which is what I'll do. So it's going to be huge. And so how do you bring, so you can do two things to bring in things into the video. You can do place embedded, or you can do what I'm going to show you now. You take the tab up here and you pull it away, and then you take your crosshair and you mouse down on the object and you move it in, and then you drop it. And it's huge because it's 7,000 pixels, and this is only 1920. So you just zoom out, and if you do the Z key, you can mouse down, and then to transform, which is scale, you do a Control T. And then you do not need the Shift key. It will not distort the image if you go to the upper corners. So now you see I have it nice and big. And then double click. And so now, again, when you zoom in, it still looks really good, except for when I stretch the video. The patterns, look how clean those patterns are, the lines, but then of course you get to bitmaps and they look like that. So you do have to be careful. So the golden rule when you are creating web pages and blogs and that sort of thing, and that's really how you get in the door, is you would be probably posting and blogging for the studio, and they'll give you tons of photographs and things like that. So so now let's put a dark gray behind here. And so now I'm just going to fill the background. So there's a good old paint bucket. And when you do your toolbar, remember, it's the 3 dots down here in Photoshop. And you do Edit Toolbar. And come on. Yeah, just like that. And what you want is Advance. So you want to you want all the tools over on the other side. And because you want them all, you don't want to have to go looking for them. And you have these little arrows, you mouse down, and there's lots of things. So I'm just going to fill this layer with gray to show you, to give you a color. Let's go a little bit lighter. And you can just fill with the bucket. Okay, so now that we have here, so you see on this one, let's turn these two off. On this guy, let me get a little lighter. I'll go white. I will go white so we can see the lines here. When you fill something like this, it's gonna fill outside. So what you want to do is you want to close that. And so you can simply just come up to the layer, be sure you're on the layer. Everything, the computer does not read your mind. You always have to be, and I'm going to bring this up, and I'm just going to bring this so that it closes it. You can also draw, and this would be taking the brush, get a color. I'll get the light gray. Whoops, say okay. And the brackets again makes it small. And again, you can go thin like a pencil, and brackets make it small. Be sure that you don't have, whoops, there. Be sure you don't have the caps lock on. If you have the caps lock on, you will not see this cursor, which will pretty much drive you crazy. So let me zoom in because my here is not working. There we go. Much smaller. And I don't have a, let me get a brush, would be better on this. Here we go. And close it. And so then fit on screen. And now you see I can use that paint bucket and choose a color. Let me get a light color here. And now you can fill this as a color. And you see now, if that was not closed, you see you have to close it. And that's the case with any bitmap program that you work with in doing that. So that's fine. So so that is exactly what we're doing here to be able to call in all of these here. So what I'd like to do is to take a break and to get you started onto this video. So during break time, definitely, and I'm going to help Alani get her, not Alani, to get her, Angie to get her website fixed with WordPress so we can get that up to the quality that we want to see, those navigational bars. Any questions on creating the video and bringing in your coordinates into here? And then we'll do the video timeline. Let me stop the share and the record. We're back in Illustrator. I mean, Photoshop. Okay. So, so this is what I was talking about, Nicholas, on here is you see how crappy the pixelization is in comparison to the vector?
Yeah.
That's what happened. So now this photograph was not distorted. So it's a lot better than this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so that's what happened. Yeah. Okay. So so now let me just, I'm going to quickly show you how to use the video timeline. First of all, you want to make a title. And here are my layers. Just going to turn this off. I'm going to use the type tool and title of, now this is spread apart here because under my window character, I've got too much space. So I want to get that, bring that in there. So that's under character. So most windows like Illustrator are under window. So you want to be sure that, you know, if you've labeled whatever title of your casual wear, right, whatever it may be, and, you know, all the things are there that will be there. Whoops. And this is the text tool. And don't forget, and highlight like you do in most programs. And don't get it too small, right? And you can change colors on even if it's on the same line. However size you want it to be. Now you can have this, you could have them 2, right? So if I did 2, I tell you, it's been really weird today for me. Google is giving me all wrong directions. So I'm going to do this too, because I'm going to show you how you can fade in your name second. Okay, and turn that off, turn this on. Okay, and so now I have the 2 of them. And you can bring them in separately. Remember, when you're working, you save every 30 seconds. You can get a lot done in 30 seconds. Okay, so what you're trying to do is you want to bring everything in, everything that you think you want to use. Don't begin to work, look at your storyboard, think it out, logistically. What do you want to see first? What do you want to see next? All of that. And I'm going to give you some special effects tips. So for instance, I want to make a layer, make another layer. And this time I'm going to make a square. And I'll color it red, double click, red. And I should fill it. Let's fill it with my bucket. Here's my bucket. And so you can, remember, you can mouse down and put it behind, right? And again, let's get this to be a color so we can see it. Make it white. Okay. So there's lots of tricks that you can do. So for instance, you can, things can appear like this, right, in the timeline, and fade and so forth. And you can also have this can travel in. So these are the things that you can do literally in Photoshop. A lot of people love video editing. It's a really fun tool. And on that page that I've given you the tweens, as we like to call them. So now, okay, so basically I want, I'm not going to build this whole thing. I'd put you to sleep. So I just want to show you the tools. So the important thing is create the words, create words that relate to your sustainable, the words that you use, Nicholas, regarding waterproofing and, nature and things that you talked about in your sustainable theme. These are big words that you can use as what we call motion graphics. So now, and so you want to be thinking about that and just make the layers, find your font, bring in that label that you did that looked really nice. Bring the label in that you have. Bring the photographs, bring photographs in that you've done, from your collage for the occasion and so forth. And once you have everything in, then you turn on the timeline. So right down here, it's under Window, Timeline right here. And you get this box. Now you can attach this to the bottom, which is the best place for it. And it's not the animated frame timeline, it's the video one. Click that and it launches the site, launches the dashboard for the video. Now what I like about teaching this, and it's right down here, is a magnifying. You can get it smaller or bigger. And basically you want it to be at least at least like a minute and a half. A minute and a half is long. It's just like a commercial, right? A commercial, they spend billions of dollars on commercials. The commercial's only 30 seconds. So you could do 30 seconds, you can do a minute, it's up to you. It depends on your videos. Because, moving motion graphics around for more than 30 seconds is a lot of work. You have to have a lot of good, interesting things going on. But if you have video, right? If you have, and don't forget, you can do music. So right down here, when you look at the tracks, this is how you add your music. So you can add audio, and you want to be sure you're using MP3. That's the best format, MP3. And to add your video, you simply come up here to your toolbar, to your layers, and just add a blank. Do it at the top because it's good to know where your videos are. But if you have it as a background, you would highlight this, and when you add a layer, it adds above the one you have selected. So now you see I have a blank layer with nothing on it. And now if I mouse down here, this is how you add your video. And that should be MPEG 4. That's the best. And that, anything off your phone will work really nicely. And even if you shot vertically, that's okay. You can still bring it in and move it, or a couple of them, right? So this is, this is an opportunity to really have fun with this stuff, and you learn a whole lot. So that's how you get video into your timeline. You add media by making a blank layer. Okay, so that will be for video. And so then again, I said 15 seconds, right? So this is right now. You hover over this. This is the back, the lowest layer. You hover over the bottom because that's going to be sort of your default color of the video. And you hover over it and pull it out. And you see I'm 9 seconds now. I'm 17 seconds. So I want to get this smaller so I can pull it out so I know that I'm at 30 seconds. And do 30 seconds. And don't forget, you can also include your credits. So you want to do, you want to give yourself credit for things such as, what do you call it? Your casual wear design, who designed that, your digital illustrations, and video editing. That is the credit that you would be getting for doing this. You would be considered, you can call yourself a motion designer. That's the new buzz right now for job titles, is motion designer. So that's something for you on that. So now you know that you've got to build it all between here and this endpoint, because this locks it down. And at this point, because I've locked it down, I will lock it up here on my layer. Just click it so that this way you're not going to select that versus something else. And so let's start at the beginning. So I don't want these things to come in. So you can literally just move them. And what you want to do for this week is what we call a rough cut. A rough cut is really the hardest because you are assembling everything in the order that you want to see it. You're not putting any bells and whistles on it like fades and rotation and scale or movement. You are just literally, it's like jump cut from one to the next. And so on here, I'll keep that, I'll probably travel this in. And then here, you see, I'll move that away. And so this will start. And so let's just say that that's the order that I want it to start. So the way to do this is you scrub it like this. You take this, so this little blue marker here, basically, let me turn everything on. I don't have anything on. Basically, this blue marker will show you whatever you see is what you get. So, whoops, let's get back down to here. Wait, hold on, let me just get back there. So in other words, we call it scrubbing. So if you're lining something up like this, Control T is your, you don't need the Shift key. is your transform tool. Double click it. Again, Control T to double click. And you can put it behind it, obviously. And that would be just changing up the layers. And then as well for here. Now, at this point, I might want some drop shadows. So, and again, you see how they're all together. Now you see them, now you don't, because I'm scrubbing it. And if I wanted to stagger it, I could hover over this, and then scrub it like so. You can easily add fade effects. That's over here. You mouse down, and you literally drag and drop it. And this renders out feature film quality. So then if I played it, space bar, just hit the space bar and the scrubber will move. And the thing to remember is that this is a lot slower than it actually is. And so at the end of the day, when you're done, you want to render it because you want to see the real time. And I'll do that in our next break. So it's important to remember that, you know, the rough cut does not have to have the fades in as it is, as I have it here. But because what I want to do is I want to show you how you can animate the drop shadows. So I'm going to simply take this, to select the fades and delete them, and you can apply them later. So the fades are really better at the very end, because there's a lot of other things to be doing, such as visual effects, to enhance your promotional video, to make it look really cool and professional. And everything is about music, everything is about including video, and then of course your composite of all your digital illustrations, your mood board, your colors, everything's coming in, so it has that whole feeling about your casual line. And a lot of people need this kind of work to be done. So it's exciting. So let me show you now how to add add drop shadows. So let me see, which one do I want to do? Let's do this one first. So on here, you can open this up, open it up on the left, and you have position, opacity, and style. Now in that instance, that's all you get. But if you come up to here and you click the arrow on this one, just do rotate and toggle this off and then deselect off of it. And what will happen on that one, you get what we call transform. And that lets you scale and rotate. So it takes it to a next advanced level. So you don't really, you've got it set, so you don't need these keyframes. But you've got the transform, so if you wanted to scale, you could. But this one here, I'm going to show you with the style. So style has to deal with this. It's under layers, and it's under layer style. So you can do drop shadows and things like that. So let me show you. I'm going to come up here to the top here. And if you notice, when you do the transform, you get a little icon here. That just means that it's an advance and it's ready for your keyframes. So you don't have to worry about it. But on here, I'm using the default position, opacity, and style. So I don't have to, it doesn't have it locked into anything. And at this point, I can come over here and apply a drop shadow. So let's do that. So you come up here, layer style, drop shadow. And there's your drop shadow right there. And you can bring it in tighter. So you're making it feel three-dimensional. And you can make it hard edge if you want, like that. That can be hard edge, or you can soften it. There's the spread. or the distance. Right? So you kind of want it close, as if the light. And you have the angle of the sun too. Now, at this point, it's at 53, but I don't want it to appear yet. So I'm going to what we call keyframe. I'm applying it, but I'm going to make it become zero transparency so you don't see it. And then over here, then say, okay. Then over here on this keyframe, I'm going to lock it in, style. Okay, and so that just locked in the zero drop shadow, the zero transparency drop shadow. And now I'm going to advance it. I'll move these guys over. I'll move this back. So we only see this. Now what I want is I want the special effects to appear. So I go back up to my layer. I double click the drop shadow. It comes back. Be sure you're on the drop shadow. And now I'm going to bring in my drop shadow and say, okay. Now, the software will make that keyframe for you. You do not have to make it. So now when I play it, it plays it like this. Here comes that first one. Here comes my jacket. And there comes that. So now you see, you can make that appear to become just like that. Now on this one, as I said, on the transform, you can highlight this. I'll bring this out. And you want to position it on here. And I can say lock in the position. But I want to make it go up because I want it to drop down. So I'll make it go all the way up to the edge. Don't lose it too much. I like to keep it up a little bit so I can see it. I can put it to a fade in. And now I'm going to advance it and bring it down. And it makes the keyframe for me. So that if I scrub that, then I have all of these coming on. And you can actually drag and drop this shadow with the Alt key. Remember, the Alt key always gives you duplication. So if I push the Alt key down and I push this effect onto here, it will apply that effect as well. And the same thing down here. So now I have the drop shadow on all of them. And so now this one, I didn't put a style on it, so I have to put a keyframe on here for that. So now that's how you get things moving and so forth. So in other words, simultaneously, you just have to move this around. So it's very, very intuitive, which I really like. And, you know, I know the advanced tool, as we call it, After Effects. And in After Effects, it's the dashboard is very much like this. So I like to consider this what I call the baby steps to learn first. So you do the position. I'm going to move this down. And then I'm going to snap to the next keyframe. That's important. It's good to snap with the controls over here versus you trying to ballpark it. So you jump to the keyframes with the arrows over here. So now you see I'm going to wait until I can get to this next one so that the timing is going to be just with the other one. So then when we play this back, we get something like this. And again, it's much slower than what it is. And when we take a break, I will show you. So you see now you're being able to control the different things. And here comes a drop shadow. And then I haven't applied the other drop shadows on the other piece. But that's basically the way to edit in video. And then again, if I wanted to move this, I would position it like this so. But again, I'm going to move this, and Shift key keeps it aligned. Keep it a little bit hanging on the edges there. Come on, come on, come on. There. Up. And so now that's in position. And now I will scrub this forward. Bring this over here. And now bring this back to be in place. And this needs to be moved down. I'm using the arrows on the keyboard. And now this is what you would see. And you can add, don't forget, you've got the ability to add your fade anytime you want to see your fade. And that, when we take a break, which we'll take in 2 minutes here, that is actually faster than you can imagine. So that's why you don't want it to, don't think it's slow. As long as you know your 30 seconds is the end here, you're kind of ballparking proportionately how much of what you want to see. And then when you scrub it, you see it come through. So this will appear very fast because it's literally 4 seconds, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 4 seconds. And that way you can see how to do video editing. Any questions? When we come back, I'll show you some more visual effects regarding the image on how to make it become, if you do have a bad photograph and it's too pixelated, how you can fix that. So I'll get a very pixelated, low resolution photograph to show you how you can kind of cheat it by applying special effects. Put the share. Okay. So just for that sequence that we have here, as you can see, am I sharing? Yeah. So you see, here's my timeline. And so you want to be sure that you see everything, because when it's hidden, it's often hard to see. So you can stretch this out for the length of it to be. And you can also, strengthen, duplicate, and you can change things as we did with the position. So again, you advance the marker, and then you can then, let's see, it came in this way, we'll move it to go the other way. And at this point, if you want to lock it to be a pause, you want to click right here to create the keyframe. And so that way it's going to travel in, and then it can travel out. So you would advance it, and then we'll move it, go the opposite way. Shift key keeps it aligned. And then this way, you'll see it come and go. Now I can move this line, of course, to be under here. So it will come, it'll be behind everything. And then you'll see it moving out. So you can keep these on just by stretching them out. And then again, don't forget your fades. So we'll put some fades in here. So the fades come in there. Whoops, you mouse down and you drag and drop the fade. So all of these can, and you can also move the keyframes. Let me show you how to do that. So you can, if you wanted this not to be fast, you can actually slow it down and move these. So that, so you can move the keyframes. Okay. So now let's export this and render this. So this is what you do for that. You come up here to File, Export, Render Video. And then you get another dashboard. And you want to make sure you give it the right title. Just call it a rough cut. And the folder, I'm in the right folder in the videos. Media encoder H.264 is what you want to have. Now you may not have this, so I render all the time from Photoshop. So you want to be sure that you're toggled down in your H.264, and then you want YouTube 1080, right? And that's why we make it 1920 by 1080. So that's 1920 by 1080. Everything else is good and ready to roll, and then you render. So, and that renders out. Now you may need to have your media encoder. We'll see. Media encoder is another Creative Cloud application. So be sure that you have, and it may ask you like, oh, I don't have a media encoder. Be sure you have that. Be sure you download the media encoder. That is completely downloadable like the Photoshop and Illustrator is. And then that will render it out. And then you'll see a marked difference between what plays in Photoshop and what plays in the real video. So let's see what that does. So just to show you again what it looks like in real time with Photoshop. So things are coming in. Feels like slow as molasses. And of course you have music. And this is why it takes to make a good video, it takes a lot of things to see. And so you could have other things going on, and then here comes, whoops, let's pull this down. So you see how slow it is, right? So slow I can't even stand watching it. But you get that's why you want the ballpark. And then this one, spacebar makes it play through. Here comes the pieces. So very slow, right? Super, super slow. Okay, now you see what I mean. So don't judge it on that. Just kind of proportionately organize what you want to see. So now let's take a look at it. And let's take a look, open it with, let's do Windows Media Player. See how fast it is? Much faster. And you see how much faster it is, right? It's not that feels slow as much. So you want to just really be able to orchestrate, and then you can go back and move things around sooner or later, whichever way you want. But this is really nice to have for a portfolio. It shows how much you understand digital media in producing this. Any questions on here? So next week, you want to do the storyboard and get started on the rough cut. And, you're going to upload your YouTube video. You're going to upload it to your YouTube video. I'm sure you all have YouTube video, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
So that's important. So that will bring you into it. So I'm just grabbing a picture right now that I can put into the background. And remember, whenever you're looking for images, on Google, be sure that you have, it should be bigger than 1,000 pixels at least. So let me call this in. And let's continue in Photoshop. So now I want to bring in this new image. So I'm going to open it up and look at the size. So I just did a file open, and let's see what size it is, right? I have no idea what it is. You go to File, Image Size. Now my video is 1920 and so forth, and this is 72 resolution. So if I make this bigger, it's going to get very pixelated. In video, it might get away with it, but let's see. Print, it would never get away with it. So let me change this, and I'll scale it. I'll scale it into in the image. So I'm going to just mouse down and drag this, drop this in. Okay, and that's fine. So I just want to show you some basic Photoshop tools. Let me zoom in. Zoom out. Okay. So resolution-wise, just to show you, you go in. This is a fairly good picture for the size. But when I scale it up, which is Control-T, and you don't need the Shift key, just keep it on the angles though. So it made its own layer, which is good, and double click. It's going to get pixelated. So now I'm going to put this behind. Put it behind here. And I'll make it for this one now. And so now here, I will bring this up. I'm moving my keyframes, so that'll move really fast. And this is what I meant. Let me turn these things off so you can see. So on this guy here, it's not that great of a photograph now because I scaled it up, so it's getting pixelated. So you can come over here to filter gallery. And so now you can make it become like a graphic, like a silk screen. So it takes it away from that pixelization. So when you get a dashboard like this, you see here's a window. And so you can get all kinds of details. Simplicity. You want to push. So you see now I'm getting much more detail. And edge fidelity. Let's see what happens there. Not much. Let's go the opposite direction. Not much. So now you see it has a little bit of a cleaner feel to it. I mean, it's a little graphic, of course. Number of levels, let's bring it down. So now you can see how you can build your silhouettes with just photographs. Bring it all the way up to 8. That's the highest on there. And if you notice the simplicity, if we push this, you see how it takes it away, right? So simplicity gives you much more detail. So the thing to remember about software is that you don't really know what these controls are doing. So that's why you push them all the way in one way or the other. And sometimes they react differently depending on the other options. And so once you get what you like, be sure to capture the screen, because you're not going to remember it if you write it down, and you'll lose that piece of paper. So you'll be in a lot of dashboards for the most of your life, and you'll come upon these windows that you have to kind of work with, and you want to be sure that you remember it and you save it in your production folder. You would save your captured screen of the dashboard because you go, oh, I love this effect. I don't want to forget. I want to use it again somewhere. You capture the screen and then you save it into your production folder. That is how we maintain things that we come upon and so forth. So now I'm okay with that. And you see, it just makes it look a little bit nicer as a instead of a bad photograph. And so now when I have my pieces coming in, don't forget you can make transparency too, as far as opacity. So if I wanted, and then the drop shadow can actually be a color of some sort. So if I call this top that I did here, let's go to that one. And I jump to the keyframe. Remember to jump to keyframes with the diamonds. And that was with the style. And let's see, where is it? I don't even know where it is. Here. Oh, I'm not on the marker yet. There it is. There. Oh, I have a fade on it. That's why I don't see it. So that's why it's good to keep the fades off until you're done. And so that would, that would put the fade on. So if I wanted to fade that in, you can stretch that out so that it has that ability to fade in or fade out on there. And again, don't forget you can, do the animation. And so when you do rotate, if you wanted to rotate something, you do need that transform. And that transform, again, is under this key right here. Just hit rotate and then be sure to toggle off. And then you can delete what they give you just to get you started, because rotate's a little tricky. So now it's scaled big is what it did. And let's do a Control T, escape, select it, Control T, zoom out. Oops, zoom out, and bring this down. And you can clear these guides, clear guides. Oh, it wants me to double click it. There we go. And now we can clear glides, clear those guides. Okay. And so if you wanted to rotate it, you would bring it down like this. You would make a keyframe, click a keyframe, advance it, Control T, move it up, turn it 180 degrees. Double click it to accept the keyframe, advance it, Control T again, going clockwise now. Yeah. And then again, that, and then double click it, and again, put it in position. And now you have your rotate. So here, come up, it's going in the direction, that's good. And then jump to this one. Up, make it come back going the other way. It thinks it wants to go that way. No, we want you to go this way. Double click. And now it picks up to that one. So you see, I'm just kind of helping it along. And then it jumps to that. There we go. You see, I'm scrubbing it to get a feel for it. And then, of course, you can bring this out. And then you can actually do a fade to black, which is up here. And then don't forget to give yourself the credits at the end. and then that fades to black. And you can put your credits, you can extend it a little bit and have it to be solid. So let me save that. So some other things as far as Illustrator is, when you're working in Illustrator, remember the marching ants. How many people have worked in Illustrator? I mean, I'm not Illustrator, Photoshop, sorry. No one's worked in Photoshop before? Is this your first time? Crystal, you've done a little bit?
Yes.
Good. So so you remember those marching ants?
Yeah.
Remember how to get rid of them?
Yeah. I even watched your YouTube video that you post.
Yeah, okay. Good. I'm glad you make use of those things. Yeah, I just want to let's go to remember, Alani, we were talking about your images. Let me grab something that has white in it, and I will show you how to eliminate the white in your file here. Yeah, let's do this one. Okay. Save image. Wow. Okay. Very tricky. Hold on. Very, very, very tricky here. There we go. Click. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay. So if you bring in photographs and you want to get rid of the white, let's take a look at that. So I'll go File, Open. Let's see what I have here. Okay, good. Yeah, I got that white. Okay, so a couple of things to show you that are very basic in Photoshop. Number one, you see again how this layer is locked. Double click it and say okay, and it unlocks it. So the rule of thumb when you are cleaning things up, it's very important to duplicate your layer so you don't lose it. Last thing you want to do is have to re-import it. So you duplicate it, right click, duplicate. You can't right click in Illustrator, but you can right click in Photoshop and just turn it off. So you have it as a backup. And this is really fun, what we call the magic eraser. So you mouse down and on the bottom, it's a magic eraser. Now you should have it set up here on the left to 32. By default, it should say 32. And then that takes it away. I mean, literally, you know, no bird poop. It's really smart. If you don't have any other, you know, distractions. So the other thing too is when you're using, because what you always are trying to do is to extract the subject matter from the background. So say I wanted to use, which is often, say I like this embroidery and I want to bring this in and I'm going to change it up a little bit to make it my own, but I need to get those crystals, right? That sequence and so forth. And so you can make this. So what you do is you can take your lasso tool and you can quickly just, you know, get the edges going. And what I'm doing is I'm going to be creating what we call the marching ants. So the marching ants are these guys right here. And that is like 80% of what Photoshop does is the marching ants. So you want to do Control D. So now I'm going to do Control C and then come up here and Control D. Control D wipes away the marching ants. So I got rid of the marching ants. Now I come up here to Edit, Paste in Place. And now I have another layer just dedicated to that sequence. And so at this point, there's lots of things you can do. You can enhance the levels of contrast. This is one of my favorite tools, levels. Just push the contrast and brighten it so you can see the crystals. Now the crystals are kind of pixelated and it makes it look, so you can intentionally go up here to the filters and say, let's see here, distort, pixel, mosaic. Yeah, see? So the mosaic gives you really, you just get it. Whoa, 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 whoa. There we go. So you can get it to be pixelated if you want. Or you can go again to those filters. And you can sharpen, right? That's another way. That looks nice. That looks really nice. And now you can do things like this. You can come up here to layers image, adjust, and you can take saturation down. So, these are tools that everyone goes to. So if I didn't want it so candy looking, I could take the saturation down. And now it's a little bit more subtler, a little bit more organic. If I wanted to make it black and white, it's easy to make it black and white under adjustments. Another one under hue saturation, if I wanted it to be brighter, more saturated, you can push that saturation. And then of course you can also change the colors, right? And depending on what you want, so let's zoom back out, fit on screen, and turn on the dress. And now this way, if I wanted to adjust it, right, you can simply by, now here, this is, if I wanted to warp this, right? Now the puppet warp does a nice job, but you can easily just do Control T and Control key down gives you the ability to just warp it. And you get the arrow. And then you double click. And so you can move this to become, the shape that you might want it to have to be placed on there. And now there's other ones too. Like there's a really nice tool under here called, where is it? It's under Edit, Transform. I'm looking for Mesh. Perspective Warp, that's good. Askew, Distort. Let's do Distort. Yeah, it's about the same. It pretty much is about the same, but you can bring this up, double click it, and then of course you can use your traditional eraser like this and just, whoops, that was my Band-Aid, that was not my eraser. And, hard edge. And then you can fit on screen. So that's why we love to be able to work in Photoshop, because it's so easy and so manipulative. And then again, if there's something that you like of this, you could bring this into Illustrator and make it become vector. And then you can colorize it yourself. So botanicals are really fun to take right from photographs, make them vector, and they become your pattern.